Charles Robert Blum, B-L-U-M. And
BLUN?
yes,
Mm-hmm. Does that have a ethnic origin?
Switzerland,
Switzerland.
yes.
Ah.
I actually have dual citizenship,
Oh, you do?
yes.
How often do you go back to Swiss?
I haven't been to Switzerland since my grandfather died, what was that, about 78 or something.
Mm. Wow, I've been there and I love it. So clean. What is your birthday?
February 14th, 1932,
And where were you born?
South Wayne, Wisconsin, Lafayette County,
South Wayne, Wisconsin.
yes.
Tell me about your family when you were growing up, your parents and your siblings.
My father was a Swiss immigrant, and he married my mother, and she was from a Swiss. My grandfather was here in the United States then, and they're both Swiss, and he was a cheesemaker.
Mm.
So we were in the South Wayne Cheese Factory,
Mm.
and when I was born on the 14th of February, and I don't remember South Wayne because I moved to Blanchardville to another cheese factory on the 1st of March. And then 2 years later, we moved from Blanchardville to just northwest of Monroe in another cheese factory, and that's where I grew up. In a place called Buckskin Hollow.
Do you know how to make cheese?
No, sir.
Oh!
I just worked for him until I got enlisted, when I enlisted in the Marine Corps. And
Your grandfather, your father, everybody make cheese.
Yep.
And you don't know how to.
Well, neither did my two brothers, so
Yeah, you're not guilty.
no, I'm not guilty.
What about your siblings? How many?
There was 3 boys and 2 girls in the family,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the youngest.
Youngest.
Yeah.
So when did you graduate your high school and where?
Monroe High School, 1949.
Monroe High School?
Yes.
Where?
In Wisconsin,
And
1949.
did you learn anything about Asia at the time from the school?
Just that Japan, mainly because it was Second World War.
And?
But I didn't know where Korea was. I don't remember having any idea where Korea was until it broke out.
You knew that I'm going to ask about that. And so you have no idea about Korea, right?
Right,
But you become Korean War veteran.
right.
What do you think about that?
I think it's something I had to do. And I'm proud of the Korean people because they took the freedom that I fought for and they ran with it. And they got a country that's come all the way from, I guess, nowhere to about the 10th or 11th or maybe even lower than that. Yeah. Industry and the life that the people live are so much better than when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was my sacrifice was well worth it.
How do you know that South Koreans are now live better?
Well, I see pictures, and one of the ones that really impresses me is the one at night where South Korea is all lit up and North Korea's got nothing.
Very dark.
Yeah.
Mm. Tell me more about the pictures that you saw. You never been back to Korea.
No.
Tell me about what you saw and what you know about the modern Korea right now.
What I know about the modern Korea
Mm-hmm.
is that I had friends that went back to Korea and they brought back pictures and different booklets and that sort of stuff. And it is, the villages are so much more, the highways are so much more, and I mean, it's just phenomenal. It's a magic world, so to speak, from what the Korean people had during the Second World War. It was a great to be in it, but not so great to, because I was on the front line. I was there 9 months. I landed with 18th replacement draft on the east side of Korea, and I went up to the place called,
When was it?
in February, about the 1st of March, 1952. And we went up to the place called the Punch Bowl.
Ah,
And then we was there for about 2-3 weeks, and they pulled us off the line and they picked us all the way across Korea and put us on the west coast of Korea.
mm.
And
So- Before we go into that story, okay, your battle portion of your whole story, I want to talk more about the legacy of the Korean War and your service. So when you see those pictures of the modern Korea, how do you put your whole thing that you fought in Korea into perspective?
well, that's a tough one, because I have, in the last 16 years or so, I don't think I've taken a step without pain.
Without what?
Pain.
Pain.
My wounds are reacting up. So I'm still proud I did it, but I'm beginning to wonder why I did it, because the Korean people understand freedom a lot better than the Americans do.
Huh.
And I'm kind of disappointed with my own people.
Hmm.
And I just think that that's sad, because we, in my estimation, in the last 10 years have gone a long way towards eliminating all our freedoms that we enjoy in the United States. But I hope the Korean people don't follow the same road.
Could you move up a little bit of your, yes, there's a shade in your face. So, did you have a PTSD?
What's that?
Post-traumatic,
Post-stress,
Yeah.
traumatic stress?
yeah,
No,
like a flash or nightmare in your dream?
I still wake up sweating.
So you seem to have a PTSD. That's the part of,
But my VA doesn't believe it. They don't connect my leg
Yeah.
injuries to the Korean War. They say it's old age.
so, but you still suffer from it, right?
Oh, yes.
How does that affect you? What kind of nightmare or flash? Do you have a flash?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it, please.
Well, I'm going to get into what I remember a flash, and that would happen on August 7th when we were trying to get back some guys that got lost or captured on the night of the 6th. And I was going up a hill trying to get to where they were, and all of a sudden grenades came down, and I sat on one. And I got a piece of shrapnel in my buttocks, but it stung to beat the band. And I think I was knocked unconscious for a time. And when I came to, I was laying up next to a small oak tree, a Korean oak, which I call a scrub oak. And I was getting myself out of there, and I heard some moaning, and I went down and here a guy, one of my guys in my platoon was laying there with his stomach all laid open. And I sat with him until he died. And then when I got up, I came around out of this tree, and there sat a Chinese soldier with his rifle on his shoulder, and all I remember is seeing the barrel with the rifling. And I fired. I was coming at port arms, and I fired. I never went to the shoulder, but I got him right between the eyes. And I don't know why, but I still see that rifle barrel. It's just in the rifling as it comes out. And I wake up and I'm all sweaty. And I probably have that once every 3-4 months. And I thought I had it pretty well licked until about 1986, when the shrapnel in my hip from that sitting on a grenade moved down my left leg, and it was like that. And I went to the VA and they took it out, and from then on I've been having trouble all the time.
And VA doesn't recognize that was from Korean War?
They recognized the shrapnel from that is from the Korean War, but the other, and that, on December 6th I was wounded again. No, not the 6th, the 2nd of December. I was wounded again.
So you're talking about August 7 of 1952?
That up till then. Till
1952.
Right.
And again, you got wounded December 2nd.
Yes.
Twice.
I was wounded twice while I was in Korea. The second time, the first time was from the knees up, and the second time was from the knees down.
So, were you recognized with Purple Heart?
Yeah, 2 of them.
2. But VA does not recognize that.
I don't know why they don't, but they doesn't. I had no problems with myself until I had that operation in 1986 to take the shrapnel out of my hip, because it was moving, and then my leg swelled up. I could hardly get in my pants, and from then on I've been going in and out of the VA, and I'm not too happy with it.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. When you have that flesh that you still see that the Chinese soldier with the rifling, you know, that's horrible, isn't it? The scar that you had to kill him, and that scar still there, and it still bothers you.
Yeah, because that is the only person I know I killed. Because normally, when you're in a firefight, you're shooting at a target, but somebody else might be shooting at him too.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't know if you shot him, or if he shot him, or somebody else over there shot him. But this guy, I know. It is buried in there.
But it was battle. It was the war, and that's why you were there. That's what you were asked to do.
Right.
So I think you need to put that into a closure now. I hope that doesn't bother you any longer.
Well, I hope not, but I got a feeling it's going to bother me right up to the end. But that doesn't take away that I still felt I did the right thing by going to Korea, or by volunteering for the Marine Corps for 4 years. I just think it was was something I wanted to do as a young man. And
But from my perspective, that's how you protected us, so that we took that freedom and we were able to rebuild our nation, and now we become 11th largest economy in the world,
yeah,
and we are the most substantive democracy in Asia. And so I want you to know that, and you know that, right?
yes,
So you need to be proud of your service.
yes.
Yes.
But I don't think I'm gonna ever get rid of the flashbacks.
Uh, let's talk more about after you graduated in 1949, what did you do?
I worked for my father in a cheese factory until I enlisted in the Marine Corps in August of 1954. No, 1950.
Did you volunteer?
Yes,
You just told me that you worked for your father in the cheese factory,
Yes.
cheese making factory, and you don't know how to make cheese.
never was interested. I was just working as a laborer.
Labor of moving things.
And we made Swiss wheels, and the wheels weighed anywhere from 170 pounds to 220 pounds. And I used to wash those. We had 3 cellars, and I washed those 3 cellars 3 times a week. So I washed cheese every day except Sundays.
Interesting, very interesting. So where did you go to basic?
I went to Paris Island. Paris Island, South Carolina.
Have you been to Marine Corps Museum in Quantico?
No, I've been back to Washington with the group that is now in Washington this week. They're getting back tonight, I think.
On a flight.
No.
What is it?
It's from Beloit, Wisconsin, where they take 200 veterans once a year and take a 3-day, 4-day trip to Washington DC and hit all the monuments. And
Okay, so why Marine Corps?
well, I had my wife, not my wife, my sister, my oldest sister,
Mm-hmm.
married a Marine that was at Evo. And I had played ball with another guy that was in the Marine Corps in the Second World War that was at Tarawa. And my brother-in-law was wounded twice, once on Saipan and once on Evo. So I grew up with people that fought in the Second World War, and I just wanted to go with the best, I guess.
How was basic training? Was it hard?
No, I
No?
didn't think basic training was hard. The hardest part of basic training was gas, when we put the gas mask on that, and we had to run around in the Quonset hut. I didn't like that at all, but the rest of it, physically, it didn't bother me.
Maybe you were trained enough in your cheese factory.
Well, I went to boot camp at 170 pounds or so. And a friend of mine who was another cheesemaker's son that I knew from high school, he and I went in together, and he came out, he lost 30 pounds in boot camp, and I lost about 5 pounds.
That's it.
Yeah.
So what was your specialty there
Where?
in the boot camp? What were you assigned?
Boot camp was just a boot.
Okay. And then from there, where did you go?
I went to Camp Lejeune
Mm-hmm.
and joined the 1st Battalion, 8th Marines. And with the 8th Marines, I made a med cruise, went all around the Mediterranean. We stopped at the Rock of Gibraltar. We stopped in North Africa, in which would have been French Algiers at that time. And I spent 10 days in the Sahara Desert training with the French Foreign Legion. So I would have never been able to claim that if I wouldn't have gone into the Marine Corps.
So how you end up fighting in Korea?
Well,
When did it happen and how?
well, this was in 1951 that I went to Europe. And I
Mhm.
spent 8 months in Europe
Mhm.
going around, and we got back in August, I think it was, or August or September, late September or October. And they made, we went on a 10-day leave because we just came back from overseas. And then when we got back from our 10-day leave, they called us out for a company formation, and they made 22 of us corporals.
Hmm.
And the next day,
From PFC
PFC
to corporal?
to corporal.
Oh.
And then the next day, they came out and they called a formation, and 20 of the guys that were made corporals were given their orders to go to Korea. Nice surprise.
Yeah. Where was it?
In North Carolina.
North
Camp
Carolina.
June.
Mhm. So when did you leave for Korea?
I left in February, around the early February, around the 2nd or 3rd,
Mhm.
because I had my 20th birthday on the ship going over on February 14th.
Mhm.
I had my 20th birthday. So I got to Korea with the 18th replacement draft, and
Where did you depart from?
San Diego.
San Diego. And did you go to Japan?
Yeah, Kyoto.
Kyoto? And then?
And then we had 2 days there. They took all the cold weather gear away from us. Said we wouldn't need it. The Army said we wouldn't need it.
Really?
Yeah.
That was in February and they took the winter gear
Yeah.
away?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Well, they said we wouldn't need it anymore up where we were going.
Why?
Because it wasn't, I think they were telling us we weren't going into the snow area, that we were gonna go over on the west coast. Well, we were never on the west coast until the end of March, the first part of April. So during that time, we had long johns and we had field parkers, but we had no, what they call Mickey Mouse boots.
Yeah.
We didn't have them, we just had boondockers.
So from Kyoto, where did you go? Is it Tokyo or Kyoto? Tokyo.
No, Kyoto.
Kyoto? Are
Yeah.
you sure?
Yeah,
You were there?
yeah.
Huh. Okay. And then from there?
From there, we went they put us on a different ship, a
Mhm.
flat bottom thing, that overnight, overnight we went to the East Coast, and I think it was Wasan or something like that.
Wonsan?
Wonsan or something like that, just below the 38th parallel, I think.
Oh. That should be Gangneung?
I don't know, wherever the
So-
18th draft,
Directly from Japan, Kyoto, to east coast of Korea.
right.
And what was your unit?
Was, well, we were just the 18th replacement draft till we got off the ship in Korea. And as we got off the ship, they assigned us to different companies and different units.
What was it?
I got assigned to I got assigned to the 5th Marines,
Oh.
because later on I got assigned a dog company.
5th Marine?
Yeah.
And
And then
any other units, like a regiments and so on?
no, the 5th Marines is the 5th Marine Regiment.
Oh, you mean 5th Marine, 5th Regiment?
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, that's the 1st Division.
Yeah, that's the 1st Division.
Yeah.
Because in the 1st Division, you got the 1st Marines, the 5th Marines, and the 7th Marines, and the 11th Marines.
Right.
And I went to the 5th Marine, and I was the only, there was 5 of us that met in boot camp, and we bummed around Europe together for 8 months, and then we all made corporal, and we went to Korea as a group, and we got split up when we got on land, because 2 of them went to the 1st Marines and 2 of them went to the 7th Marines, and I was the only one that went to the 5th Marine.
Mm. And from there, where did you go?
We went up to 5th Regiment headquarters, and then they assigned us to what company we were gonna go into, and I went into Dog Company.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, they sent us up to Dog Company, and from Dog Company, they took us up and put us on the front lines in the Punch Bowl.
Punch Bowl.
And there was snow about 3 feet deep
Mm-hmm.
and cold.
So tell me about the Punch Bowl that you first saw. What did you feel when you first be there?
Well, I would from where I was on the Punch Bowl, we could look at what they called Duke de Gook's Castle.
Mm-hmm.
And we had incoming the very first day we got there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was 22 of us that went with the 1st Platoon Dog Company on the 18th replacement draft, and there was that first incoming that we got, we were all green, and I think we carried 3 or 4 of the guys that I came in with me into Dog Company off the hill.
And what did you feel? I mean, was the battle situation intensive or
No.
what happened?
Just incoming.
Just?
Just incoming.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see anybody, we didn't fire our rifles, we just trying to hunker down. Tried to stay alive.
I think the city that you landed was Gangneung.
Could be.
Yeah.
It's on the East Coast, I know.
Right under the 38th parallel, right?
Just under the
Yeah,
38th
yeah,
parallel,
yeah.
I think.
So the situation wasn't that intensive at all. Okay, what was your specialty?
I was a fire team leader when I got there, and the sergeant that was in charge of the squad got wounded, so they made me a squad leader.
Mm-hmm. So how many soldiers in the one squad?
13, including myself.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about, one more time, how were you wounded in August 8th, 7th of 1952? Did that happen in Punch Bowl?
No,
No?
on the 1st of March, around the 1st of March, they took us off of that area,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to see my bald head?
Yeah.
Okay, but anyhow, they took us off of there and they moved us all the way across Korea to the
Uh-huh.
west coast, and they put me on a hill number 229.
Where was it? Do you remember?
It was right under, just east of the road that eventually led to Panmunjom.
Ah.
So that's where I spent my first 30 days on the hill 229.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about it. How was it there, the battle, and how you got wounded? And describe detail the scenes.
No, I didn't get wounded on 229. It was
Okay.
it was mainly patrols. That's what we did.
Uh-huh.
And if you got in a firefight, it only lasted a couple minutes. But we weren't moving that much, and most of our time we spent on getting ammo and food and stuff up to our troops. And we were on Hill 29, and we'd go on patrol every 3rd night. My squad would go on a patrol every 3rd night,
Mm-hmm.
because there's 3 squads in a platoon. One squad would be on patrol duty, one squad would be on supply, and one squad would be manning the positions on the MLR. And if you was on patrol, well, you got to sleep, take a nap during the daytime. But otherwise, there was days that I'd go 24 hours a day, without any sleep. One time during the time when I had a squad, I kept track of how much sleep I got. And I averaged, in 30 days, I averaged 2 hours a night.
Oh,
So,
how did you survive that?
well, I lost a little weight because I didn't eat as much as I would normally, but I had to take care of my troops. Somebody had to be getting them ammunition, food, water, and corpsmen. If you got a wounded one, you had to carry him out.
Hmm.
So, but we didn't really have many casualties on 229.
Hmm.
It was later on that we got into the casualty.
Where? When? Tell me about it. Where was it?
Well, we were on an outpost that I call Royal,
Mm-hmm.
but in this book, where the devil is, here it is. In this book here, I think, they call it Fraser or something like that. I thought I had it marked. Here it is. No, I can't find it just an instant. But I call it Royal, and it was named something else after we left it, but I was on it and we were overrun on the 4th of July, 1952.
Mm-hmm.
And there was 31 of us on the outpost, and I think it was 13 of us that got through without getting a scratch on us. The other ones, we had 4 guys that were dead and about 15 or so wounded.
How did it happen? Describe it.
Well, we were told they were coming, but, because they had a loudspeaker, and they would, turn it up at night and say, "Hey, Marines, we're gonna celebrate the 4th of July with you." So, and then as the days moved up to the 4th of July, the incoming became more and more and more. And at one time, we were getting incoming at the rate of about 800-900 rounds an hour. So you really hunkered down. But we got pushed off the hill. The next morning, we took it back. So I know a little bit about the agony of defeat and the pride of victory. But that was the biggest battle I was in. Most of it was in patrol actions with just a few rounds fired, like maybe some hand grenades thrown, or a couple of shots, or just, just short bursts. You were just out, like we'd go out and we'd go as far as we could, and when we got to where we got intercepted or something, or to the end of whatever we wanted to go, as far as we wanted to go, and pick up what information we could get and go back. And sometimes you got in a firefight, sometimes a few rounds of mortars came in, sometimes nothing happened. It was just like a walk in the park. But the next time, you never knew if it was going to be a big thing or a little thing. I was blown up a couple of times on patrol. One time I got knocked over.
By what?
I don't know what it was.
Mine?
No. A mortar round came in and I just flipped. And we got the heck out of there as best we could, and got back, and I just ached all over, and the skipper, when I got in the bunker, where he said to me, he says, how you feeling? What happened out there? So I told him what happened. He said, how you feeling? And I said, I hurt all over. I don't know why, but a round came in pretty close. And as I was walking out of his bunker, he says, come back here, Blum. And I said, what's the matter? And he says, take your flak jacket off. I took my flak jacket off. And there's a piece of shrapnel about 6 inches long, shaped like a knife. And it was stuck in my flak jacket. That's what blew me up. And I decided then and there that I was going to not go very far without a flak jacket. So he gave me a new flak jacket, and he put it on a post out in front, and he said, wear your flak jackets, guys. So I just, like I say, I've been blown up, unconscious. I don't think that time, but the time when I sat on the grenade on August, I was bleeding out of my mouth and my nose. So I had concussion then.
Wow, it's almost like a miracle that you are still in one piece. You came back from that war, huh?
Yep. And the next one I got, well, on December 2nd, I got both ankles.
How? Explain how.
We were out on patrol, especially.
Where?
Where? On the...
Give me information about what, where, how, when, all these things.
Within 100 yards of the Panmunjom wire that went around. We got out on outpost Able, COPA, Company Outpost A. And I was there for, I don't know, I got up there right after Thanksgiving. And I led a patrol 2 nights before I got wounded down to the fence, and I touched the fence. So I knew the fence was there, and barbed wire fence all the way around the Panmunjom. And 2 nights later, well, a couple days before that, they told me I was going on R&R the next weekend. So the next weekend I was planning on going on R&R, and the Navy corpsman that's been with me for the whole time, he was supposed to go on R&R too.
With you?
And with me. We were going together. We were going to have a hell of a time. And they came down and said, you're not going on R&R, you're going to NCO school. So the corpsman went on R&R, and he was gone a week. By the time he come back, I didn't go to NCO school either on a Friday night, because on, I think it was a Tuesday night, and I got called on Tuesday morning. I called up to the CP, and the skipper told me I was selected to go on a special patrol. And when I heard all the information about it, I said, I'm not coming back.
What is it? What was it? Special
Patrol was, there was a lieutenant coming up from the Ranger Battalion, and a couple guys with him, and we were supplying the rest of the guys to go out and see what the Chinese had on what we called the shoe sole.
Shoe sole?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it was a ridge out in front of us that was shaped like a foot. So we just called it the shoe sole on the map. And we went out there, and I was with a guy that was having his second term in Korea, on his second tour duty, and he had won the Silver Star in the first, and I'll refer to him as Tom. And he and I made it up to the trench lines, and first thing I remember about that is we made it to the trench lines. And when I got to the trench lines, a Chinese soldier came up and he was throwing 2 grenades. And he had them, they hooked them in their fingers because they had a bamboo handle on them. They're made quite similar to a German potato masher. And I could see the fuses going. And so I cut him down with my Thompson. And then I heard machine gun fire. Then I heard mortars. So I said, the safest place for you, buddy, is in the trench. So I jumped in the trench, and as I was going in, I said, dummy, dummy, mistake. Because it blew me right back out, those 2 grenades. But they shattered both ankles and the right knee. So that's why I say the first time it was from the knees up, the second time it was from the knees down.
Mm-hmm.
So the lieutenant was wounded he got shot through the chest, so he had to take the stretcher. We only had 1 stretcher with it. So I walked back probably 300-400 yards.
With your knee wounded?
Between walking and crawling on my hands and knees, I got back to our lines. And the only thing that saved me, I think, to this day, is that there was a fresh snow the night before, and it was cold. So I was covered with ice, bloody ice, from the waist down.
That stopped the bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you were there in the team, as a team?
At the team,
Patrol team.
that patrol had, I think there was 3 or 4 guys from his outfit, and there was like 4 or 5 of us from our outfit.
So about 10, and it was a special patrol to look into this Chinese shoe shoal
Yeah,
area.
and they wanted to know that because I guess the Rangers were gonna hit it in a couple of nights after that. So we were supposed to go out there and see what they had. They had enough.
So how many were survived? How many were killed, actually?
Nobody was killed.
Nobody killed?
Nobody was killed in that patrol.
Wow.
And the lieutenant was it was comical. He got hit, and he got hit in the 1 lung, but it was on the right side. And they had to carry him back, and he was tiny. They called him Tiny as a nickname. He was about 6'4", 260 pounds, and they called him Tiny. So he came to see me when I got back to Yokosuka, or not Yokosuka, yeah, Yokohama.
Yokohama. So from that wound, where did you go? How were you treated?
I was treated when I got back to our front lines, back to our company outpost by another corpsman, and then I had to take a jeep with stretchers put in it or on it.
And
we drove back to MLR, so where we could get picked up by a chopper,
Mm-hmm.
and then flew back to a med station. And then they operated on me at about 3 or 4 in the morning. And I hadn't been to sleep for 36 hours, so I fell asleep on the operating table because they gave me a spinal tap. So I had to sit up, and then I could watch them cutting my legs, taking the shrapnel out of them. And they were going to amputate the left foot, but they didn't because the corpsman had just come up from the repos, the hospital ship repos, and he says, "What if we pack it? We could fly him out tomorrow and get him on the repos, and they can maybe save it." So they packed it, the left ankle, and I must have slept for a whole day because I missed it. I missed a day in there. The next morning, they flew me back to the hospital ship Repose
Where?
in Incheon. And then it left that night for Yokosuka, Naval Hospital at Yokosuka. And I spent from that time in Yokosuka until middle of January, and then I went to a base somewhere around Tokyo, and I rode a train all day long at the foothill. I think it went around Mount Fuji,
Mm-hmm.
so I got to see the snow top and nothing else. But when I got to the base, I forget the name of it, the guy that was on guard duty there was a guy that I was in boot camp with, and he had his thumb blown off, and he was doing guard duty there instead of going home. And I went in, checked in, and they were gonna send me back to Korea, and I says, no. I says, on my orders, they say I got 30 days of rehab. And the guy says, well, if you got 30 days of rehab coming, the 18th draft is going home, you can go home now.
Yeah.
But then on the way home, I had another experience. We flew home on a tri-continental TriStar that it was converted into it was a commercial, and they converted it into an airplane, a medevac airplane. And we got out over the ocean, and we got our 2 engines went conked out on it. So we went to there, to Midway, and then from Midway to Hawaii, and we missed our connection at Hawaii, so we had to take a couple days in Hawaii. And then I went to Naval Hospital at San Francisco.
Korea didn't want to send you back to your home.
Well, I came up with a solution, a way to kind of explain it, that I think any Christian knows the 29th Psalm, which, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadows, I fear no evil, for thy rod and thy shaft, they comfort me. I changed that a little bit. I said, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadows, straight through the gates of hell. And then I realized there was only 3 ways to get out of there. Either dead, alive, or wounded. And all the while I was in Korea, I only knew one guy that went home without a Purple Heart. And he spent 12 months there. So chances are that you don't survive. You never really get rid of it.
You don't still you don't regret, and you're proud.
I'm proud.
Yeah. Do you want to go back to Korea and see what's happening there?
No,
Why not?
I can't fly because of my legs, and I've developed a urinary problem. So I got to be somewhere close by that I can't travel unless I know where I can stop and go to a bathroom. So I never signed up to go back to Korea. There's only one thing I'd like from the Koreans yet. And I understand they made a medal. I got the peace medal. But they made a medal out of the wire, mob wire. Being I touched that, I'd like one.
You like to have one that? Got it. Charles, I want you to know that the Korean government and Korean nation never forget your fight for us. And that's how we became the 11th largest economy and strong democracy. We took the freedom that you fought for. That's the word that you told me, and I want to quote that. We took the freedom that you fought for. So your suffering still flash upon your head about those sins that you had to do those things. It's not going to be forgotten, and there was a reason for you to do that. So I want you to be able to put a closure on it because you had a reason to do it. You didn't do it intentionally without any reason, right?
Yeah.
You had to do it. You had to do it, and I think it's time for you to close. Okay?
Well, I'd like to close, but I don't know if I ever will be able.
You will be able to, and we'll pray for that. Pray for that, and I'll do that too. Any other important message or episode that you want to share with me today?
Well, last winter, we went to a Korean thing down in Rush Street in Chicago, and I really enjoyed that. The native music, and I heard Adi Dong again. So I guess that's my story.